Welcome to July and another edition of 10 with Tom. Anxiety is excessive concern, and if left unchecked, it can rob you of important things like confidence, joy, peace, humor, and perspective. Anxiety comes from obsessing over something, trying to figure out what happened, needing to understand what people are thinking, and struggling to decide what to do. Proverbs 3 verses 5 and 6 tells us to trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. Trust requires living with unanswered questions, being satisfied in knowing that God knows what you don't. You will never have all of the answers, and you will never have perfect understanding of things. Even the Apostle Paul acknowledged in his first letter to the church in Corinth in chapter 13 verses 9 and 10 that we don't know all the answers. Where he says, "For we know in part and we prophesy in part, but when completeness comes, what is in part disappears. For now we only know in part, as only God sees the full picture." The cure for anxiety begins with accepting these three things. First, that God knows everything. Second, that God is never surprised. And third, that God is never without a solution. So here are your options. You can carry the burden yourself, or you can cast it on the Lord. 1 Peter 5:7 encourages us to cast all your anxiety on him, because he cares for you. All of it. Our anxieties, our worries, our concerns, all of it, because God loves us and he's watching over us. Again, note that word all. Cast all your anxiety on God, once and for all. Learning to live this way takes patience and practice. So don't expect an overnight miracle. But the secret is in giving your anxiety to God one more time than you take it back. Learn to catch yourself in the act and let it go. When anxiety comes, say, "Lord, this is not mine. This is yours. So I'm giving it to you." Try it for the rest of the month of July and see what happens. Remember the words of David from Psalm 55:22. "Cast your cares on the Lord, and he will sustain you. He will never let the righteous be shaken." Hannah Whitall Smith tells a story that took place about 100 years ago, yet it is as up to date as tomorrow morning's news. A farmer with a horse and cart notices a man walking along with a heavy sack on his back, so he offers him a ride. The stranger accepts, and he climbs up into the cart. But as they proceed down the road, he is still bowed beneath the weight of his sack. The farmer says, "Why don't you set the sack down?" And the stranger replies, "That would be too much to ask. I'm grateful that you're carrying me, but I would never expect you to carry the sack also." That's what we do when we accept God's offer of salvation, but we insist on carrying all of our burdens ourselves. Cast your burden on the Lord. Release the weight of it, and God will sustain you. God won't begin working on the problem until we turn it over to him. He gets involved when he gets invited. We wait until we're falling apart, and then we wonder why God doesn't help. James gives us the answer in James 4:2. "You desire, but do not have, so you kill. You covet, but you cannot get what you want, so you quarrel and fight. You do not have because you do not ask God." Have you asked God for help? Have you placed the problem in his hands, confident that he will work it out for your good, and patiently waiting for him to do it? This doesn't mean that you become passive and sit around and do nothing. You need to do what you believe is right and what you have peace about doing. but learn the difference between your part and God's part. And stop frustrating yourself by trying to do what only God can do. As someone who's much smarter than me once said, I know two things. One, there is a God. Two, I am not him. Leave your anxiety in the hands of the one who can handle it. And that's the word for you today. Pastor Allen and Pastor Mike will have more to say on this subject tomorrow and Wednesday on our Facebook page, The Village Church at World Golf Village. So now, enjoy our nation's 247th birthday tomorrow. And be safe with your fireworks. We want all of you intact the next time we see you in worship. Have a great day, and remember, God loves you, and so do we.